Today, I'll be taking a look at Darkwing Duck number 3 from Dynamite Comics, written by Daniel Kibblesmith, with art by Ted Brandon and Rose Stein. My copy is covered by Ciro Cangelosi. So far, the relaunch of Darkwing Duck has been pretty good. And I've heard good things about this issue, so I'm looking forward to seeing if it lives up to the hype. The comic begins at Darkwing's secret base on the Audubon Bay Bridge, as he writes his autobiography. Goslin isn't really all that impressed, and then the start of the actual story, Darkwing Duck telling Goslin about how he learned martial arts, where we get the title of this, The Secret History of Darkwing Duck, Where Did Darkwing Learn Martial Arts? As we see Darkwing making his way up a mountain into a fortress at the top. You know, as soon as he gets to the door, he gets knocked back down the mountain, but that doesn't deter him. He gets back up and goes right and climbs back up to the top, where he meets the Venerable One, aka Vinny. We also meet who will be Darkwing's rival. I don't think actually gets a name, a big dog with an eye patch. And so Darkwing gets to work as someone who will be doing menial labor. But of course, Darkwing makes his narrations to Goslin sound more impressive than what's actually happening, which we see Darkwing doing menial chores and getting yelled at for goofing around. And he continues to get bullied by the dog, who would potentially be the number one student. Pretty funny jokes and pretty good gags here, as well as also a humorous aside of Darkwing being crunched into a ball and bounced all over the room. His rival makes a reference to pinball, and then after Darkwing crashes into the wall, he says, "Are kids today even gonna get a pinball reference?" As Darkwing continues to do his menial chores, the librarian tells him about the ancient book of ancientness, which is said to be able to turn anyone into a great warrior, and allow them to unlock the heart of a true warrior, which of course interests Darkwing. And we also see him being continually getting bullied by the dog character. Eventually, the Venerable One has enough of Darkwing and his rival's antics and tells Darkwing that it's time for him to leave. So now that Darkwing knows that he's getting kicked out in the morning, he instead decides that he'll find the ancient book of ancientness and show everybody. And after retrieving the book, after a little bit of slapstick, he ends up and finds what he was looking for. So the next morning, he goes and he encounters the other students, and he ends up meeting his rival again. And as the rival attempts to beat him up, Darkwing dodges all of his attacks. And the Venerable One becomes impressed with Darkwing, since without landing a single attack or defending himself, he ended up moving his rival exactly where he wanted him to, just by dodging. And ended up creating a yin-yang pattern in the sand garden. And after his rival attempts to attack him again, Darkwing ends up using the chi attack that the Venerable One had used on him earlier on in the issue. The rival tumbling down the cliff, just like how he had been knocked on the cliff earlier in the issue. And the Venerable One is impressed with Darkwing, which Darkwing explains that because he found the secret in the ancient book of ancientness. And straight out of Kung Fu Panda, the book is blank. As Darkwing said, it is a perfect metaphor for achieving inner calm. We actually get a pretty clever twist, is that the book Darkwing had is not the Book of Ancientness. The real ancient Book of Ancientness is in the Venerable One's personal collection. Darkwing got the wrong book. And that the librarian had tricked him because the librarian wanted Drake to think that the library was cool. And so, Darkwing now has a blank book, which the Venerable One tells him that he can write his autobiography in it one day. And you cut back to the present to reveal that the book that Darkwing has been writing his autobiography in is the book from the story. And a nice bit of tying things together. As Darkwing inquires if Goslin liked the story, we see that she's all hyped up and breaking stuff, which Darkwing sighs, and it's like it's better than her falling asleep. As we get the teaser for the next issue, it'll be a team up with Quackerjack and Lilliput. So I'd say that this is a really fun issue. There's a lot of great slapstick, some pretty funny jokes. The artwork seems to have found a nice in-between spot between the new art style and replicating the art style of the original series, which I'm definitely liking. The posing is great, some really great facial expressions as well. The kind of uncanny valley of the art is seems to be behind us now, which is good. Originally, I was a bit concerned that they might pull a little too much from the episode Kung Fooled, which is one of my least favorite episodes, but they were able to pull it off without diving headfirst into outdated stereotypes. Daniel Kibblesmith has done a pretty good job of nailing how Darkwing talks. In my head, I could hear Jim Cummings saying a lot of this dialogue. This comic is pretty darn good, and I highly recommend it. And I'm looking forward to this Darkwing series continuing. Well, till next time, see ya.